All right, we are live. Good afternoon, folks. It is Comics Camp 2020, MarekBennett.com. Become a patron over at patreon.com/MarekBennett if you want to get the updates. All right, this afternoon, we're doing a quick demo of how to make a mini comic based on pages you've already drawn. So I have been working on this project. I'm calling it Who is Jeremiah Crocker? And this is the cover, front cover here and back cover here of issue 1. And I'm drawing this, as you can see, pen and ink on paper. I'm drawing it as digest size pages. That is half a sheet of paper, 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. And I'm doing that because this is a little easier to see. If I hold these up here, I'll show you. We're doing these one sheet mini comics, right? And this is a single sheet of paper folded up to put 8 pages on a sheet, right? Now, the cool thing here is I noticed if I draw this at digest size, which is exactly half a sheet, and then I scan it in and shrink it down to half as tall and half as wide, it's going to be exactly one of these one sheet pages here, right? So I'll scan this in full size, shrink it down to half size, and it'll fit on here. That means if I draw 8 of these pages, I can fit them all onto here, make a little printout of it, and fold it up to make a book. That's my ultimate goal. If that sounds confusing, don't worry. We focus mostly on drawing the comics. And then once you have 8 pages done, you can come back and see how this process works. So I'm going to share a little bit of my screen, my infinite recursion screen here. Let me, I'll just close this one down. And what I'm going to show you first is what it looks like shrunk down. So I've created a little folder here that has all 8 pages of issue 1. Now, as we saw in previous videos, I've scanned these in. Let's zoom in on this one. I've scanned it in and boosted the contrast. So every pixel is either black or white. I want that because it looks terrible zoomed in like this, but when we zoom out and actually use ink to print that on paper, it's going to look fine. It'll actually look nice and crisp as opposed to having lots of gray pixels in there. All right, so I have all my pages. Oh, the other thing to realize with all these pages, they're all about 3,000 to 4,000 pixels wide. They're full size, 600 dots per inch. That's because I want even the fine details to show up with some good resolution there. So these are large files, not large size files, but large in pixels. Okay, so I have all 8 pages there. Then I'm going to actually take all these and drop them into a template. So I'm going to go to my website. I'll show you where this template is. I'm going to say MarekBennett.com/one-sheet, and that'll be my one-sheet mini comics format resource page. Let's go down on this. I have to remember here to keep an eye on the comments, check in the Facebook comments. You can zip over to the Facebook page and comment there if you want, or if you have questions about what I'm doing. And every couple minutes, I'll just pop over there and check the comments. All right. Let me go back to our screen share. There we are. Okay, so I'm here on MarekBennett.com/one-sheet, and that's my format page. This shows you how to set up a blank book, which is fine if we're just about to draw at size. Here we are, one-sheet template. So I have a little video there. We won't watch that now. Right below it, I have this. I'm going to click on this template page here. I'll open up in a new tab my template, and this is actually a somewhat high resolution file. So let's see, this is a GIF. Let me save that image as, and I will save it into my Jeremiah Crocker folder on my desktop. Save. I can close that up, and I'll leave this here. I may want these directions later. So I'll just open that up, and there it is in the folder. Okay. Now I'm going to open this template in my Photoshop or GIMP or whatever you're using to process images. So I'm going to drag it down here. I use freeware GIMP, which you can look up gimp.org/download or something like that. You can download this program for free and use it. So here's we have just opened this up. You can see it's not super high resolution, but this will make a fairly small printable file. If you're concerned about resolution, what I'm going to do in here, just to make sure it's large enough, is I'll scale the image and I'll just double the size of this image. So from 3,300 pixels wide, we'll go to 6,600 pixels wide. We'll say it's going to be too big, but that's okay. We know what we want here. All right. So it's fine to work on this at the smaller size. It'll still be a perfectly good printable. Let me just save this as, I'm going to export it as, I'll call it Jeremiah Crocker #1 mini printable, something like that. And sure, we'll let it be a GIF for now. Okay. Export. So now what I'm going to do is I'll open up that folder. Let's put it off here to the side. Okay. So I have the template in front of me. Now you can, and I have all the pages right here in front of me too. Okay. So just looking at this template, you can see page 1 is right here. Page 2 and 3 are there. But you notice 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 are all upside down, and 8 is right side up again. So what I'm going to do is grab my first page. Oh, I see. I numbered these as 0 and then 1 and then 2. So I have to be careful not to confuse myself here. I'm going to grab the outside front cover and drop that over the 1 page. Plunk, and there it is. Now you notice, because it's such a high resolution file, it's really large there. We don't want it that large. Like I said, we're going to shrink it down. So I use the scale tool. And let's see, we'll just scale this down. I want to be careful not to make it too fat or too thin. So I'm actually holding down Control so it scales proportionally. And I'll get it so that it fits within that template box. Let's try that. Let's zoom in there and make sure it fits. That fits pretty closely. And I'm not going to push it to the edge here. I don't want to get anything cut off. So I'm going to fit everything within those boxes. All right. What I'm going for here is I'm going to drop every page into each box according to its number. Then I'm going to make those boxes disappear. And then I'll save the whole thing with all the pages as a single sheet that can be printed like that, and then fold it up and cut into a book once it's printed. All right. So the next one is page 2. So I'm going to go in here. My second page is what I'm calling Crocker issue 101. A little confusing, but I'll drop that in there. Did you see what size that that first one went to? Let's see, that first page went to 1418 pixels wide. Let's just try that with the second one. So I'll just enter into the scaling dialog box here, 1420, let's say, and make sure, whoops, let me try that again. Make sure it's locked to be proportional, 1420. Otherwise, it'll stretch it. It'll just make the width change and not the height. You'll get a super skinny picture. Scale. Whoops, it didn't do it. All right, I'm just going to do it by hand here. Again, holding my Control. Oh, no, it's locked anyways. I'll bring it down until it's about 1420. There we go. Give or take a few pixels. Scale. There we go. Now I'll come down here and make sure that fits within the box. Nothing's going to get cut off if I'm within that box. I set up this template to give you the safety zones there. Those are your margins. All right, that's looking good. Let's bring our third page in. And this is how it goes. Repeating that same step over and over again. And now scaling till it's 1420, looks like is going to be our magic number here. Scaling, setting into place. That'll be page 2 and 3. When I make the template disappear, you won't see those lines, those guidelines. All right, now for 4, there's a couple ways to do this. I think the best way for me will be to transform, flip, rotate 180 degrees. So I'm going to rotate this entire file around 180 degrees, zoop, and now the 4 is right side up. So now I can drag and drop my 4th page, or what I numbered as 3, into here. I can scale it to about 1420 wide. Each page, I might, if it's a tall page, I might have to make it a little less than that. We'll see. Here at the very edge of Center Cemetery. Does it fit? Oh, that is a slightly taller page, isn't it? All right, we'll make it a little smaller. We really want it to be about 2200 tall. 2200 pixels tall. Now, you see this is getting a little pixelated in there when it gets small like this, but it's fine for a printable size. When I make a graphic novel out of the 20 or 100 pages of the final project, the pages will probably be a little bigger than this. So that's why I need to have the high resolution original files to work from. I'm not changing those. All these original files are still 3,000 to 4,000 pixels wide, which is wide enough for my purposes, for a black and white comic. All right, page 5, which we're calling 4 in my numbering system, my crazy numbering system. And we're going to shrink this till it's about 2,200 tall, right there. That might be a little wider, huh? Let's see how that fits. Now it's okay on this template to actually go into the little margins between the pages because those won't get cut off. That'll just be the fold of the book. So that's looking good. Oh, you know what? Let's save what we have so far. I'm going to save it as a layered file in my desktop Jeremiah Crocker. Yep, I'll save it as a layered file just so I can move these layers around if I need to. Okay, always save what you have every few minutes, right? Otherwise, something's going to crash and you're going to lose it, guaranteed, sooner or later. All right, so we're zipping down to width 1420. You got a sense of this. The more of these you make, the faster it goes. This one's there. This one's a little shorter. This is the page with the monument. This is nice. I like drawing these pages the large size and then shrinking them down, because if you draw your pages large, you can get all those details just the way you want them. You can get in there with your pencil and your pen and your marker and adjust all the details. And you don't have to, use a magnifying glass to see what you're drawing, which is kind of nice. And then you can shrink them down. Now, the trick, though, is if you put really tiny words in, if you put tiny, tiny text somewhere in here, or tiny details, when you shrink them down, your reader might not see them. So you have to, as you're drawing the originals, you have to kind of consciously make everything twice as big as you actually want it. Let me save what we have so far. That was fast. I'm going to rotate this back around, transform, rotate 180 degrees. We'll put the last page in. The last page is a quote from Brian Stevenson that kind of started this whole project. What is a healthy relationship for a society to have with its own history? Knowing the actual history. If you don't know your history, you can't really begin to understand what your obligations are. That just kind of made me think, wait a minute. What do I know about the history of slavery in New Hampshire, where I live, where I've lived all my life? When was slavery finally abolished? Has there been slavery in my own hometown? I don't think so, and it turns out I was wrong. Let's see. So I'm going to make that fit in there. Now, like I said, we are going to make that Comics Workshop printable 1-sheet 8-page mini comic template disappear. I'm going to make that. Let's just save what we have. I'll make that layer disappear, and then I will flatten the image. So we'll go up to Image, Flatten Image, plop, and it becomes a single flat image. All right. Now I made sure my website and my copyright information, my Creative Commons copyright, is all on the back page there. So I don't need anything else here. And as long as I know how to fold it, I'll be. What I sometimes do with this is I'll drop some lines in. Well, we won't do that this time. We don't need any folding instructions here. So I'll just flatten it and I will save it as the GIF into Jeremiah Crocker. Number 1, there it is. It's saved as a printable GIF now. Now, if you feel, let's just check that size of that GIF. This is our original template. You know what I sometimes do with these books is I'll make the file name start with a 00, so it shows up right at the top of the folder. And we'll refresh our view, and there it is. All right, so here's our layered file. Here's our printable GIF. Now, if you're concerned about this being a GIF and you don't like that format, which is an indexed color format, a couple things you could do. I see it's under a megabyte, so I'm not going to make it any smaller than that. But you could, if you were concerned about size, make it a little smaller. Let's save it also, just in case we want to print it and not have any GIF problems. Let's save it as a TIFF and see what that does. TIFF file is a larger file, but it's also going to be a little more multi-purpose. Doesn't have some of the same format issues a GIF will. That will be 4 megabytes, which still isn't that huge and much more reliable. That might be the one to print from. The other format I'll sometimes save it as is PDF. We'll try that. Make sure it's flattened to one layer. And this PDF is under a megabyte, and that's a pretty small size file. That might be the best one to print from if you need to send it to somebody to print, right? Now, let me zip back up here. And I think we are ready to look at what that looks like. Once you have that template with the pages all laid out on it and you print it out, it's going to print out like this. Here's actually a page I printed out from that. You can see I added on a little line to guide the cutting, but I will actually show you what that looks like when you take this and print it out and you follow the folding instructions. You just find your front cover and you fold it up as a one-sheet mini comic. That means all those 8 pages should be just off the fold. See how that's pretty close, but it's just off the fold. Make sure the way you print it has good registration on the copier or the printer. Otherwise, if it slips in the machine a little bit, you'll be cutting off your pages. But if I did this right, then we should be able to fold it up. No stapler required. Make one little cut. And this is all in the one-sheet instructions, right? Make one little cut, do our chicken beak to the X, bring the 3 arms of the X together, bring the 4th arm around, and we should have a nice, slightly sloppy, slightly hastily done 8-page mini, right? And that enables you to read through all 8 pages of the story. And not just that, it enables you to send the PDF or the TIFF to somebody and they can print it out and read through it and share it with their friends. And it enables you to draw carefully at a large size, get your artwork just the way you want it, scan it in and digitally process it, and then send it out as a booklet. One other thing I'll show you though, because let's see, I'll go back to a screen share just to show this. Because if I send you this and you open it up on your computer, you're going to try to read it and get really confused and give up because there are no page numbers or anything. So let's say we also want a PDF to share. I'm going to open up my word processor. This is a really simple way to get a PDF together. I'll open up my OpenOffice or Word or whatever you use. I will set up, slide this next to our image here. I will set up a page that is, let's go to format the page. And what did we say? This was drawn at 5.5 by 8.5. We'll make it digest size. We'll make the margins a little smaller. You can put a header and a footer on if you want. I'm not going to do that right now. And we'll give ourselves new pages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages total. And then I can take these large images, starting with our front cover, drop them in here. And this is why I always work my contact info, my signature, my credit into the artwork, usually on the front and or back cover. Because all these pages should fit perfectly. That one needs a little nudging down. They should fit perfectly in here. Double, triple check to make sure you get them in order. That one needs some nudging down to center it too. And our back cover. All right, now I have all 8 pages set up. I'm just scanning to make sure they're all in order. Good. I'm going to save that. And maybe this one I'll save as, let's go to the desktop. I'll save that as, what did we say? 00 Jeremiah Crocker #1. Let's call this the digest booklet, because this is not so much a, it's not a one-sheet mini. Save it as a doc or an ODT or whatever format you want as a word processing document. Looks like we could nudge this cover down a little bit. Save that. And then once everything's in place, I can export it as a PDF. Again, I'll go to desktop. into that folder I made. I'll save it as a PDF, the digest booklet version. And then we should be able to go over here. It's going to take a minute to create the PDF. But we should be able to go over here and see it come up. Oh, there it is. Okay, on the left here, export as PDF. You see it's going to take a minute as it processes through these files. It'll come up over here on the right in my folder. And if I want to show a mini comic or show this story to somebody to read on screen, that PDF right there, because of the export settings I used, should open up to this format where people can actually page through, see the facing pages and everything, and get a sense of the story from that. And that's ideal for reading on a screen. Whereas for printing and holding in your hand, I would use that little mini printable. So there's two formats and two quick ways to take the scanned, processed images and lay them. There we go. Any quick questions here? All right, so there you go. We're coming back later on Friday to later on this afternoon, this evening, to do a little quick draw. Probably we'll be coloring that poster we started earlier in the week. Check it out on MarekBennett.com. You can become a patron, and you can actually now sign up annually as a patron, which gives you a little discount too. So thank you very much, patrons, for supporting this all summer. We've had a great summer, and I'm looking forward to the fall and working on projects like Jeremiah Crocker and others. Good luck with your mini comics, folks. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you soon.